No, seriously. Well known. I was going to skip the introduction of Barry because I figured everybody knew him, but boy, they get blown out of the water. But the Marlowe Outlaw, uh, the Rant. So anyway, Barry has a very long storied coaching history. First with us though is going to be Sean Heusel. He is the executive director of Pokes with a Purpose, and there is a very distinct difference between NIL and Pokes with a Purpose, which is the collective. And here to explain that difference is Sean Heisel. He's a graduate of Cassidy High School, got his master's in sports administration from Oklahoma State, went to Learfield Sports, decided he didn't have the guts to fire Kip Racy and quit, and then went to the Thunder as a manager of company partnerships or corporation partnerships, and then he took an easy job now with Pokes with a Purpose that never changes and is just one of the smoothest, easiest jobs you could have at this time in his career. So, anyway, Sean, come on up. Thanks for coming from Oklahoma City to do this.
Thanks for having me. I enjoy coming up to Stillwater again. I spent many good years here a while ago, so it's been a good ride getting back in the orange and black full time, and this position of executive director with Pokes with a Purpose. So I've been doing this gig now for almost 8 months, and I'm just going to try to put a little clarity on what goes on. While I say that, though, it literally changes every day. Barry was right here filling me on some stuff that I hadn't even heard yet. So I'm going to kind of talk about what we've been doing because that's kind of the clear part. So we are the collective. We are the official collective of Oklahoma State University Athletics. Basically, all that means is we are our own LLC that sits outside the university, and we raise funds to help support our student athletes. And when I say support, I mean we flat out pay the student athletes. Now, they do have things they have to do to earn that money. Most of it is social media based, promoting OSU, promoting what they do, promoting themselves. We do send them out in the community for some events. The women's soccer team participates in the youth soccer club. Wrestling team puts on camps. We had a few players that did a commercial for the foundation that's going to help raise money for the university. So they do have a responsibility to us to earn the money that we pay them. So the next step is how do we get that money? Well, it's private donations. We have received some corporate, but at 95% of our donations are privately raised donations. It is sitting down at events like this and talking to people and telling people, if you donate to us, you'll help us retain our current athletes and then also help us bring in new athletes. I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with a women's basketball recruit. Coach Hoyt just asked me to talk to them because I could talk more about it. So we do everything from trying to help the coaches recruit to retaining our current athletes. The main way we raise that money, I wouldn't say the main way, but the majority of the money comes from just private conversations and private donations. People who love OSU and just want to support the cause. They may not like the world of NIL and collectives and where it is, but they understand it's here and it's here to stay. So they want OSU to be successful, so we do that. We also put on several events throughout the year because those events are ways for people to get together. We're not asking for huge dollars at those events. You can participate. The most recent event we just had a clay shoot out in Kingfisher at the Cedar Gate. So we had about 32 teams come out and participate. We raised a great amount of money. Overall total revenue was over $150,000. People came out. We had auctions, and we had celebrities. We had some of the football players that they could purchase, and they went out and shot with them on the course. Aiden Kelly did some auctioning off. I didn't know he's like an auctioneer. So, we incorporated the athletes at that. Had a few of the coaches. The new basketball coach, Steve Lutz, was there. Had a very good message there. He came in after a victory the night before, came in that morning, but then was hopping in a car immediately to drive down to Dallas to an AAU basketball tournament to recruit some kids. But he came in and spoke to the group for us. So we also have a golf tournament. We also have currently a truck raffle going on. You may have seen the big truck that sits outside Gallery Arena right now. So we've had that truck donated at a discounted rate. All the money we raise goes into our collective. Every dime that goes into our collective goes back to the student athletes or our cost. So we pay all sorts of athletes. We work with the coaches on those athlete contracts. They are contracts that come through us, and we work with the coaches on how they want to see it dispersed. So, and we are proud to say that we have worked with every single sport now. We worked with equestrian girls, obviously football players, basketball players, track players. One of the cross-country runners that lives in Kenya, we sent money to him over in Kenya. So the money that comes into us can either be designated to a specific sport, or it can be designated to the general fund, and we disperse it as needed. So that's kind of how it's been. Where it's headed is a little different. Pokes with a Purpose is still going to be around. The athletic department has told us that there's still a need for you. We're still going to work with them. But when this collective agreement potentially comes on July 1st, then the schools and the universities are going to start paying these athletes as opposed to us. Now, it's confusing. I know we're still going to be around. We're still going to raise money. There are still going to be ways for us to supplement and help out the student athletes. It's going to be more, they're going to have to be more based in doing functions to earn that revenue, because it's going to be supposedly monitored. Who's going to monitor it? We all know the NCAA is probably not going to do it. So who knows how it's going to be. So look for that coming down. The date's supposed to be July 1 when it takes effect. There's supposed to be an announcement coming in April that it's going to happen. But, you know, Pokes with a Purpose is still going to be here. We're still going to support our athletes. We still have to fundraise money and go from there. So that's kind of all I had to kind of try and explain things. Barry is much more interjected and will much more have everybody laughing and doing well, but I just kind of keep it simple. So I can take a few questions. We have time for that? Okay.
Are donations to your organization tax deductible?
Very good question. Today, they are tax deductible. For the next 2 or 3 weeks, they might be tax deductible. After that, we're going to have to change. So the IRS has come out and said collectives are no longer tax deductible. So today they are, but it's changing.
You said you could designate a gift to a sport or the general fund. Can
Yes.
you designate a gift to a specific athlete?
No, we don't encourage that, because then it is, I think it's directly.
You don't encourage it, but could you?
We would tell them no, let's donate to the sport and then go from there. Because
Sorry, I require hard nose. So I
no,
saw a
we
little
wouldn't
room.
do it. It's just we don't donate to specific players.
I don't have any money, so don't worry.
All good.
I didn't have anything in mind. I was just wondering.
No. Yes, they are. They receive a 1099 at the end of the year, and they receive education on taxes and stuff through the school. It's one of the perks that the school provides that education.
Do student athletes of the school receive income from sources other than Pokes with a Purpose?
Absolutely, and that's kind of where it gets more into the name, image, and likeness. They are 100% allowed to go out on their own, or a lot of them have agents now, and talk to Joe's Tire Shop on the corner and negotiate a deal.
Are you involved in the concert?
Involved is a tough question. I am not very involved. I'm not involved in terms of putting it on and making decisions and what happens. But yes, we are. That money is going to come into our group, and we're going to disperse it to the athletes. He asked if we are involved with the concerts. And involved we're not really involved with who's putting them on and running them. That's way other people. But yes, Pokes with a Purpose is benefiting from the concerts.
Got one over here.
So budget-wise, is it public how much how much money was raised or used for the athletes this year and compare that to figures that I've seen recently that said Texas had 22 million and Ohio State had 20 million and Texas A&M had 16 million and such.
I think that's probably the biggest issues with what we do is, no, it's not public, and you never know what numbers are true in this world because you don't have to report them. You don't have to tell anyone. But we're all smart. It's just the way the world is. You know, Texas has a bigger alumni base. They have more people. They have more money. Ohio State, it's just how it works. Like, yes, that's the point of the new way that supposedly is going to go back to leveling those fields.
So is there a number that you tell people that we have?
I don't feel comfortable telling a number. I really don't. But no, I will tell you that, yes, those numbers are supposedly true. And no, we're really not very close to those numbers. But we do with what we can.
Are you a 501c3?
Yes,
So
today.
you have to file a 990.
Today, yes.
So next year we can find out. Look up the 990.
Yep.
Wow.
No, I don't like to be quoted.
You've been a huge help today, Rachel.
Welcome.
I got a question. How? Give us a hypothetical of a football coach recruiting a running back. How is that money discussed?
It's discussed.
I had an idea it might be discussed.
I think the better answer I can give you is I want to give you an example, a real example of what happened.
Okay, a real one.
UNLV quarterback came out 3 games into the season, was quite frankly very upset because he was promised, I think the number was $100,000 from a football coach, and the money never showed up. And me sitting afar reading this, I'm like, well, that's a shame. But every single one of our football players we put under a Pokes with a Purpose contract. They know exactly what they're getting when they walk on the campus that day. So partly blame that quarterback a little bit for not having it in writing, because we all know you can have a football coach out there that goes rogue and just promises you something and says, I'll figure it out once you're on campus and I got you hooked. So I like to say that we do it the right way. Every single athlete that gets a Pokes with a Purpose check is under a contract and knows exactly what they're getting and when they're getting it.
Okay, but let's go back to when they're being recruited.
Yeah, it is top of the line, first thing they want to talk about now.
Who are they talking?
The coaches.
And the coaches are making
Coaches are starting to make decisions.
to make the decisions on
based
how much
on-
we're going to pay you.
Yeah,
this kid.
it is now happening that these coaches are being more open about what they are paying under the new collective bargaining agreement that is supposed to happen on July 1st.
Yeah, but before that though,
And before that, it was just kind of the Wild
it
Wild
was
West.
we kind of paid defensive backs $25,000,
Right.
and you're a defensive back,
Right.
okay, and then you would go to them on August when they hit campus with the contract with that amount in it,
If that,
or the amount that you
if
were
that
told.
was agreed, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Are the contracts just for a year?
Yes.
And do they include clauses like, and if you get arrested for a DUI,
You get paid extra.
Yes.
She said, are the clauses just for a year, and do they have things in the contract for behavior?
Let me answer it really specifically because we have attorneys and you talk to them all. Basically, the contract says if you are within good standing of the team, you will get paid. So it's kind of in the coach's hands. If they keep them in good standing, they get paid. But if the coach says you're not good standing, you're off the roster, you don't get paid.
Hey, Sean. Oh, can I ask? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that a coach approaches a player, or the other way around, and they kind of discuss what money may or may not be out there for that athlete. However, every year NIL changes because one year people are super excited about a team and lots of money comes in. The next year it's half. How do these coaches know when they sit down and they're evaluating potential portal players that I have XYZ amount to offer these guys and not overpromise or underpromise?
Well, I'm not a coach, so I'm not in those meetings, but
Okay.
I know how it works. It's like your business. You have some businesses out there that overpromise and undeliver. You have some businesses out there that are very conservative and like, I'm not promising anything unless I know I have it. It's just every entity kind of ran as their own business, and it was kind of down to that individual coach on how they acted. You know, I know I have seen some coaches like, I'm not promising anything if I don't know I have it. And then there's other coaches that work out, not in ours, but there are other coaches working there. I'm going to tell this kid what he wants, and I'm going to go find it. So, but that, like I said, this is hopefully going to start changing and leveling out. These coaches are going to know what their budgets are.
Sean,
One more.
Years ago, I used to work with professional athletes and getting them sponsorships and things like that. And one of the things that we relied a lot on was the Q scores. And I don't believe at that time Q scores were quantified for amateur athletes. Well, now, technically, I believe they're not amateur athletes anymore. So are all the athletes now going to have Q scores, and will those enter into discussions when you guys are talking about possible sponsorships and things?
Yes, I believe that's going to start taking place.
It's basically a way to quantify the influence of the particular athlete over a set market. So Tiger Woods' Q score was.
But that falls more into Barry's area. So
We're ready.
Ready, brother.
Thanks, Sean. I'll start off like this. Hi, I'm Barry Hinson. Introduce myself. Yeah. Yeah. I've been asking that question since I came home. There's a lot of questions being asked today, but when they turn that damn camera off, we'll answer them. Fair enough? Let's go through a few things real quick to go back on some of the questions. Every football program in the country right now is hiring a GM. Bill Belichick last night became the head coach at North Carolina. His first hire this morning was a GM from the NFL. So most programs, most basketball programs, especially at our level, are all hiring GMs. You talked about the Q school. That's the magic question. And everybody wants to know what the market value is of an athlete. And I'll answer that question on camera. The market value is whatever somebody will pay that athlete. Now, there is no transparency. Sean's right. There is no transparency. Henceforth, that's why the United States government is getting ready to be involved. Ted Cruz has hell-bent for leather. He said it all along, that as soon as January 6th gets about and they get into committee, that he will take his committee and he will address these specific issues. His angle is from the HBCUs. If you know what an HBCU is, it's historically black colleges and university. The HBCUs have come out and said that if you do the current plan that's coming out of the House settlement, we will have to drop every sport at the HBCU level, as well as most of those universities will come to a close. Now, it becomes a race issue. We haven't even touched base on what's going to happen with Title IX. When they said that the Republicans won the House and the Senate, the majority, they were doing backflips in Indianapolis. It's going to hit to the world of politics. Yesterday, something happened that today was completely changed. Sean's right. I tell people all the time, you're Lewis and Clark, you're in a canoe, you're coming down the Mississippi, you see a beaver, you put it in your journal, and the next thing you know, you're getting down south to Louisiana and you see an alligator, and you put that in your journal. It changes every single day, literally. And I think the biggest thing that you have to understand from our point, and Chad is the absolute best at doing this. He tells our athletes all the time, here's what you need to worry about. You need to worry about your academics. You need to be worried about being the best person you can be, being the best athlete you can be, because next year we're going to be playing football. And we're going to be playing basketball. And we're going to play softball. We're going to play soccer. And that's what you need to worry about. We're headed, in my opinion, to collective bargaining. That's where we're headed. I took the job 3 years ago, and I'd been in the job for 1 week, and I said, we're headed to collective bargaining. Didn't take me long to figure it out. I'm from Marlow. You know, there's some of that shit that takes a little while to rattle around. But it didn't take long for that to come in. I figured it out. So, you talked about contracts. You asked the question, if we have an athlete that says or this or does this or that, would the contract be null and void? That is definitely in the contract. We've had a contract for a wrestler. It's wrestler. I didn't wrestle in my life. I wrestled. But we have a contract for a wrestler that an individual said that if this person doesn't make this particular grade point average, the contract becomes null and void. It works positive on both ways. It can really do. We ask about the 501(c) or C3. He's right. Sean's right. They're going to tell you, no more. It's over. It's done because it was abused. That's why. Why do rules change? They change because they were abused. But the bottom line is, and we've told people this for years, quit worrying about the tax donation. You say, well, it's easy for you to say, Coach. It is easy for me to say because make it a business expense. It's more legitimate. It's absolutely there. There is a service provided for a fee. And that's what we do every day. And you ask the question about Q. Here's a funny answer for you. Prime drink, the drink that if you've got grandkids, they're all drinking it, is an energy drink, and they can't keep it in stock. It's a elementary, junior high phenomenon. They love Prime drink. Prime contacted us last year about using Ollie as a promoter through NIL. And they asked us for his social media numbers. And Ollie was hovering around 100,000 at the time. And they said, no, we have no interest. None whatsoever. We won't deal with anybody that doesn't have at least 250,000 followers. Now, fast forward. We have a drink that comes in through Oklahoma State, and the guy calls me. It's a Zen, Z-Y-N drink, an energy drink. And he says, we would like to get an athlete. And we start going through some of our higher profile athletes. And he says, and I've talked to this guy several times, Coach, we're not concerned with that. Run the analytics on social media. That's all we're worried about. We want social media influencers. We have a wrestler right now that has over 1 million followers. And he can sign up and do anything he wants. And I don't know if he'll ever get to the mat. But that little stinker has figured out how to make money. We have a track girl that transferred from West Virginia, Sarah Stair, took a picture in her track outfit. Most of the men know what I'm talking about, and most of them are faking that they don't know what I'm talking about right now. But took a picture in her track athlete with a cowboy hat, and it hit Barstool Sports, and it went viral. And now we get calls all the time about Sarah because Sarah went down to Outlaws on the Strip one night when it was flat out going after it and put a 12-point buck in the back of her truck and took a post with it because she had just shot it and killed it, and it went viral. And now every outdoor gear, cooler, hunting, all that wants Sarah Stair doing their stuff. She goes to the clay shoot that Sean put on, does a clay shoot with Jack Hodges' team, and now Sarah's driving around a new Ford truck. You know what's amazing, though? Sarah is selling Ford trucks. They're buying Ford trucks because of Sarah. They're buying coolers and cups and bows and stuff because of Sarah Stair. Now, I just want to figure out how a husband draws a wife in to look at her picture in order to get their wife invested in hunting and fishing. I'd like to figure that part out, and I haven't done that in the NIL office at this point in time. Hey, I just wanted to say a side note, too. My wife and I, when we go eat Mexican food, we normally go to Mexico Joe's, but now that Rib Crib's serving Mexican food, God, I thought that was really good. I think we're going to go there tonight and eat Mexican food. Is that good enough? Okay. Yeah. All right, we're going to leave here today in a good mood. How much time I got? 15 minutes. We're going to leave here in a good mood today because everybody wants to bitch and moan right now. And they really want to bitch and moan about what happened last week. All right, so let me tell you what's going on in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and at Oklahoma State. And I want you to leave here and I want you to tell people exactly what I said today. I'm on camera. I'd stand by it, every word of it. Let me tell you what's going on in Stillwater. This community, this university, this little Payne County, we've hosted at Stillwater the national championship in cross country twice. And we just got approved for the third time. We have the nicest cross country course in the United States. Fully irrigated. When I bring recruits out, I take them and the parents and I walk out in the middle of the cross country course, stand right in the middle and say, find a weed. Can't find one. It's absolutely not one of, it's the best in Stillwater, Oklahoma. We've hosted the national championship for golf 3 times at Karsten. And right now, Karsten is going to be, and I know what you're going to say. You're going to say I was drinking more than iced tea. Karsten is getting ready to be the nicest course in the United States. Joe, I went out there 6 weeks ago. If I blindfold you, put you out there in a helicopter and drop you in, you'll say there's no way in hell I'm in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I promise you. I promise you. There's a guy out there you probably never heard of. Maybe you've heard of him. I don't know. But his name's Mike Holder. And but Coach Holder is bound and determined to make it not only the nicest course in the United States, but also the most difficult. Right here, Stillwater, Oklahoma. We have a football stadium that has just been renovated. It's basically brand new all the way around. And in that horseshoe, we have 123 suites, and they're all sold out. And our waiting list is now up to 34. And if you happen to be 11 through 34, you've got no shot you'll ever get in a suite. The demand is unbelievable. We will sell out next year for the 4th year in a row at OSU football. Mark my words, we will sell out. We just hired a defensive coordinator that I met him yesterday in the hallway. I got a couple of buddies out there in the sports world. That's what happens when you've been out there for 42 years. When you coach for 42 years, you got somebody that knows somebody. All I know is my buddies that called me and said, I don't know if you've ever been to a practice before, but if you want to go to a practice now, now's the time. Because when they start defensive part of the practice, this guy's the real deal. So I know that Coach Gundy has hired an unbelievable defensive coordinator. You want to go about, let's talk about baseball. You want to go to baseball? One of the nicest facilities in the United States. Unbelievable. If we can get past regionals, we'll host a super regional, which will be the highest. Let's talk about softball. 5 straight World Series, 5 straight berths, and Kenny has said after fall ball that he really likes his team, maybe one of the best teams you've ever coached. And we've hosted the highest level that you can host at in softball. How about we go to soccer? How about we just go down the road to soccer? The nicest is at North Carolina. The second nicest soccer facility in the United States for college athletics is right down that road right there in Little Stillwater, Oklahoma. So when people ask me what's going on, what are we doing, I like to tell them that. We've hosted the national championship in wrestling. It was in Tulsa, but we hosted it. We've got the nicest basketball facility in the country, in my opinion. It is the original. It is the OG. If you don't know what that is, ask your grandkids. 13,600 people to get into that place, and we've got 2 coaches right now that are really doing well. Matter of fact, we've got one coach that's doing so well, she popped out a baby this morning. But we're not leaving here upset today. We're not leaving here mad. We're not leaving here down, depressed, whatever, because that's going on in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And our wrestling program just went out to Las Vegas and set a record since 1983, the most points scored. And this is David's philosophy. He said it openly. I don't care if you get beat early in a match. But we're not in 4 corners anymore. That's basketball terminology. If we're up 2-0, we're going to still try to pin your ass. That's what it is. It's just a new era. That's what we're doing. People are excited. Lower Bowl, sold out. I mean, when we got the big boys coming, you know as well as I do, when Iowa State comes in here, that place, you won't be able to find a place. That's what's going on. You got a president and an athletic director that bucked up and bowed their necks last week. If you don't know what bucked up and bowed your necks is, go see Joe Martin after this. He'll give you the definition. I can't be any more proud of my institution, my school, where I went to school with. I get to work with Dr. Shrum all the time, and I'm blown away. I'm blown away. If they'll leave that lady alone, you can't fathom what she's going to do at this university. We've had 4 straight years of increased enrollment. Do you realize that we're fighting right now the academic cliff? Do you know about the academic cliff? The academic cliff will start in 2025. 20, 21, 22, 23 years ago, baby boomers weren't booming very much. So there's not enough population to fulfill the qualifications for most universities. We have not yet dropped off. We've increased every year since she's been here. And you know what else she's done? Whatever tuition you started with, that's what you're going to end up with in the end of your 4-year stint. If it had been me, it would have been 5 to 6 years. But it wasn't because of academics. I just thought, shit, I'm having so much fun. I don't want to go back to Marlowe. Our athletic director, he's the exact person you need to drive the bus. He's the guy. Because he's like this. I'm not the guy. I'm not that guy. There's 2 things. There's a thermometer and there's a thermostat. Chad's a thermostat. I'm a thermometer. We had a Staples guy the other day come to Pistol Pete lobby and said, "Can you tell me where Cowboy Dining is?" And I said, "Yes, sir. It's going to be on the other deal bill. Let me call Ben Crawford and we'll help you out here." Anybody here work from Staples in Oklahoma City? Good, because I'm getting ready to get after you. So anyway, the guy goes, "Well, the address says it's right here." And I said, "Yeah, I know. It's Athletic Center. It also includes the West End Zone. And matter of fact, Ben says if you'll go to the Boone Pickett statue, he will come down from his office and pick up your delivery." Well, I'm not doing that. The address says it's right here. Okay. I'd been really good up until that point. And I said, "I tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get your ass back in that delivery truck, and you're going to drive down here to Boone Pickett statue, and you're going to deliver that product because Cowboy Dining needs it. And you, young man, are going to do your job." He said, "I don't know who you're talking to." I said, "I tell you who you're talking to. Barry D. Hinson." I think he's from your part of the family, but Chad is absolutely the best guy to have in that office. He's been great. And let's talk about one thing because Rachel's here. And I think this is really important. No, you don't. Well, I didn't either when you did the trivia, but anyway. I had ankle surgery 2 years ago. Ankle surgery. Yeah, from stomping. Yeah. I can't whistle. I didn't have a voice by this time of the year coaching. I coached 42 years and 30 years as a head coach. So I did a lot of yelling and screaming. And so I stomped. And they could hear my feet hit the wood, and they would turn. And then most of them, knew what I was saying or read my lips or whatever. And my mom always sat behind me, so it didn't really matter. But so we get to the point where we talk about great things we're doing. Let's get away from academics and athletics. Let's talk about what we're doing in our community in the state of Oklahoma. Darren Shrum, Casey's husband, has made it a really big priority to take the swine farm out here and to make that a farm-to-table, fresh produce for people that are in need of fresh produce. The food bank. We're going to be able, if the state of Oklahoma will ever get off their ass and get in gear and start giving us a little bit more money, we'll start feeding upwards of 10,000 people in this state and shipping food to Tulsa and Oklahoma City and our own area. Because you know as well as I do, you take one trip to Oklahoma City, you take one trip to Tulsa, then you'll figure out what's going on in our community. There are people that can't afford to have produce, that can't even afford a place to live. But we're going to do something about it. We're going to put in a facility over here that we talked about last week called the HPRNI. I have no idea what all the letters stand for. All I know is it's a health institute that Dr. Shrum, as I said a while ago, is hell-bent for leather, that we're going to change our health in the state of Oklahoma, specifically with our children. We are number one in the state of Oklahoma in childhood type 2 diabetes. Number one. We are second to last in adult obesity. We have a saying on campus, thank God for Mississippi. But we're going to change it. So I go back. Little Stillwater, Oklahoma. Little Payne County. And we're changing what we do in this state. And Trish knows. She's in the thick of it every day. I had the Democratic caucus come through this weekend. I gave a tour to them. And at the end of it, I got after them. You probably heard about it. But I got after them a little bit. I don't know what you're doing. But the most important thing you can do is support our educational system in the state of Oklahoma, whether it's elementary, whether it's junior high, whether it's high school, whether it's college. That's the most important thing. Education is the most powerful tool that we have in our society and is the poor man's savior. I believe that. So we will, I don't have time for questions. So, and you know why? Because I did that on purpose.